Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. Saturn is the so-called sixth planet in our solar system. This number 6 is incredibly significant when we look at the six-sided hexagon NASA shows us at Saturn's North Pole. This hexagon is in fact soft disclosure. You see, Saturn is not what we've been told. Saturn, like all of the other revolving luminaries, is a point of frequency expression, a sonoluminescent light above our flat plane that represents a larger concept than just a light. It's a light with principles that are embodied by the six-sided hexagon. The number 6 is not only the hexagon, but also the cube, having 6 sides. Together, these make up the hexagram, the prefix hex having to do with spellcasting, and the number 6 being the number of the material. Thus begins our description of how Saturn is being currently used, but more importantly, how it functions as a sort of computer for this material world. The figure of Father Time is a derivative of Saturn, or Cronus, the Roman god of time. The Gnostic figurehead of the Demiurge, the being who took the essence of Sophia the Black Sun and bound it by space and time, is Saturn. This word we hear, Satan, is simply a later version of the word Saturn. So the common Christian assertion that it's Satan's world simply means that we're ruled by Father Time, all of us, within the cube. But little do most Christians know that Yahweh is the Hebrew personification of Saturn. In essence, the three monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all promote this Saturnian energy. The constructs of control all around us are ruled by Saturn: government, media, education, and so on. Saturn is the planet of rules and limitation, and this makes sense since astrologically, Saturn is known as the planet of karma, but equally as the planet of death and destruction. From this perspective, Saturn doesn't make things easy. Energetically, Saturn commands us with discipline to get to work and to do so by carrying the principle of responsibility. Being Father Time, Saturn is at worst a dictator, but at best a wise teacher. Time is the ultimate form of slavery, but it is also a great teacher by slowing down manifestation. The elite worship Saturn as their Time Lord because Saturn restrains. And what the controllers of this world are looking for is free energy, our free electromagnetic energy, which is able to be easily siphoned when we have restrained conditions. Let's get back to the North Pole's cube. This grid pattern of the cube is nothing to ignore. It represents the binary, robot-like consciousness of Saturn. Everything is about rigidity and discipline. Old Father Time, after all, demands he be paid. This cube is deeper than just a shape. We are currently in a fractal reality construct that is essentially recreating itself in itself infinitely. This Earth construct holds Saturn as the orchestrator of this matrix, the computer, if you will. Let's briefly go back to what I've explained on the Black Sun. The Black Sun is the womb of creation on this flat plane. Sophia from the Gnostic tale. If Saturn is like the computer, then the Black Sun is like the cloud that's funneling the data throughout, just like how Sophia is entangled within the Demiurge. Although we're expressions of Sophia, we're inside the cube, inside of Saturn's Yahweh fractal supercomputer. The cube, and especially the black cube, are seen scattered throughout the world, paying homage to this fact. these waves that create time. The Bible informs us that we are born into sin, but this truly means we are born into sine, into time, the sine wave of Saturn. In this context, sin has nothing to do with being evil. It has to do with being born within the type of limitation that allows one to ignore their divinity in favor of a more Saturnian or satanic energy.
We have been exploring Metatron's cube, this temporary encasement which has been binding consciousness to geometric configurations designed to hold a soul within its false matrix. Blanketed with such a dense overlay, Earth and all of humanity has spun on the cycle of birth and death in order to maintain a consistent energy supply for the entities who maintain this system. The 0 point has been put on lockdown through a complex system of toroidal compression fields held together through the Merkaba hex and chakra kundalini implants. It's then no wonder that Metatron is an anagram for torment, because it's through Metatron's cube that we find ourselves in and around physical substance that ebbs and flows. In my last video, we talked about the Vesica Piscis. This is the bi-wave distortion brought into this reality through the Metatronic fields that gradually came up with a system of extreme polarity, inserting that code into the consciousness which the Metatronic system ensnared. This fall of man, this implementation of the overlay, is synonymous with the tales of ancient genetic engineering. In this altered state of turmoil, our fear gave the Metatronic system the consent to use that fear to create frequency fences. Our energy was broadcasted to create a net and produced a predator mind construct intended for mass human parasitism. And any remaining DNA of Earth that was silica-based mutated rapidly into carbon. After all, nothing can remain eternal under the moon. Carbon comes from the Latin carbo, meaning coal or charcoal, because it burns easily, it's fallible. And the same way we can put charcoal in our fires to warm us up, the various entities who uphold the energy extraction matrix use our carbon suits as a means to warm themselves up. A cycle is a perpetual circulating period of time, on the completion of which certain phenomena return in the same order. Cycles are loops. They are not natural. They hold this realm and everything in it hostage to time, which is a creation of the Metatronic overlay. I described in my video on the chakra overlays how our endocrine system is a part of this matrix, that our internal organs and glands bind us to restraint through necessity. Adam and Eve were deceived for the first time by the serpent. Before this, they did not know good and evil. Dualism was not in the collective repertoire. The virus upheld a type of binary, rigid, domineering consciousness that had not yet been experienced, so we couldn't identify it as a threat before it was too late. After the inversion, the original world collapsed. More genetic experimentation was performed to further fragment humanity, aiming to distance us from tapping into our true creative potential. The brain was divided into two hemispheres. Artificial electromagnetic energy waves we know as ley lines were set up on the Earth, reinforced through pyramids, churches, and monolith structures, and in time, we submitted ourselves to the master-slave paradigm through genocide and various means of deception to further lull us into a state of forgetfulness and thus submission. We have been severed into 7 levels of perception. This is the security system of the Metatronic overlay. 7 layers of the aura, 7 chakras, 7 glands of the endocrine system, 7 states of matter, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 notes of the musical scale, and 7 planets. What we call planets are nets. They are the plan to net us all in this overlay. There are 7 reinforcers to this overlay system above us, which energetically keep everything moving in cycles and according to fate, which really means fatality. This system is held by Saturn, also known as Satan or Father Time. This is the lord of the Metatronic system. This is why Saturn is at the top of the ancient depictions of these spheres of influence. An urn is a vase that holds cremated ashes. The name is revealing to us Saturn sits on the urn of the overlay, acting as the lord of discipline and karma. Discipline and karma. Why would we require discipline and resolution of karma? What did we do to deserve such discipline? And who is penalizing us? After realizing this situation for what it is, how can any force deem humans as the wrongdoers who need to correct their ways? Well, karma and discipline are the patriarchal orders of the caretakers of the energy extraction matrix. Humans have been told that birth and death are necessary in order to work out issues and become perfected. The karma soul recycling system has been a farce, a false light trap designed to maintain the Metatronic overlay. We call this system the Saturn Moon Matrix because it begins with the moon and ends with Saturn. The phrase carbon copies is not just a saying, it's revealing to us why there are organic portals. The Metatronic overlay is all about getting the living souls to identify with illusion. It's about creating an atmosphere that is convincing enough so we give our consent to it. But in order to create the illusion that money is legitimate, that hedonism is for our benefit, that nothing is wrong with reality, that humans are inherently flawed, there must be shadow beings, non-player characters representing themselves as true humans. The majority of the population are nothing more than shadow reflections of the living souls, whose essence has been replicated through the cycle of samsara. It's commonly asserted that everybody has a doppelganger. The word doppelganger is German for ghostly spirit, or double walker. This isn't just a fun idea. All around us are carbon copies of the living souls, acting out the charade of the overlay. When we have been taken through the false light trap of the moon, our essence has been cloned. Upon each return to Earth, there has been more and more carbon copies of the living souls until we get a situation like we have now, in which the majority of the population are nothing more than AI perversions of the true essence. This explains why, in this process of waking up, many seem to be in La La Land, happily absorbed in deception. It's because organic portals, or soulless beings, operate on a binary consciousness. They attach, react to the system because they are a part of the system. There's an underlying thread which connects everything on Earth through patterns, geometric codes, and mathematical ratios, all pointing to a connection to a central processing mind. These codes are at the foundation of third-dimensional reality, whether we're looking at rivers, trees, flowers, anatomy, shells, or DNA. The pinnacle of sacred geometric forms is the mystical cube known as Metatron's cube. This complex symbol contains the interrelated angles and shapes which the physical world is blueprinted after, and acts as the algorithmic processor for the third dimension, which is really nothing more than a false matrix existing in a temporary quarantine within a true, unwavering universe free from the restriction of time and decay. The template and guiding force behind this dream world, this veil which has led us and all of nature into the cycle of samsara, is Metatron's cube. Life in this current reality is carbon-based. Carbon, being made up of 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons, is the carbon structure of the cube, the supposed number of the beast. This is why the 6-pointed star is such a common symbol. It's the seal which has taken our infinite heart energy and funneled it into this 3D shadow world. Locked within such an elaborate maze of geometric hexes and grids, humanity has been seeing with half vision, segregated from the true Earth, which, like us, is currently blanketed with limitation via the Metatronic overlay system. The goal of this system has been to funnel creative essence into a game of polarity, of light and dark, of opposites. We have been used as a food source to energetically power this hierarchical Metatronic system. This has been visualized as the all-seeing eye and the pyramid. We have Metatron's cube at the top, a binary processing machine which imposes decay. It's this black cube Yahweh supercomputer which is responsible for our fractalization. Metatron's cube ultimately represents containment. Cubes within cubes within cubes. The geometric squaring of our consciousness, the ultimate magical container. Everything is compressed within a toroidal structure in this false matrix. This universal electromagnetic field is a compression field. It compresses the heart into Metatron's container, attempting to seal it off from the infinite. Heart energy is what ultimately powers this labyrinth. It is the innate spark of the 0 point, which has been locked into the third-dimensional false matrix overlay. The flower of life describes the interrelated energy of the infinite, which is bound in a field of self-consumption. Hence, why this current reality is full of disease, decay, stagnation, conflict, and overall dualism. The flower of life is contained, meaning transcendent essence bound into limitation. The flower of life and Metatron's cube actually describe the same thing. They are the same three-dimensional form being expressed two-dimensionally as different. Curved lines are feminine, and rigid lines are masculine. So what we have is an ever-expansive, feminine, regenerating energy funneled into a rigid, masculinizing Metatronic system. The creative essence of us and of Earth has been contained through mixing the flow of spirit into a fixed template where it is bound by matter. We can relate this situation to the Gnostic story of Sophia, the great mother who became bound to matter via the creation of the demiurge. This is why every experience in this cube has significance. This is why we experience synchronicity. This is why there's seemingly a tug of war between spirit and matter, because we have funneled the unwavering into the set. Metatron's cube contains all of the geometric shapes in three-dimensional creation, known as Platonic solids. These are the building blocks to all physical matter. The Platonic solids are the container blueprints which Metatron uses to impose hyperphysicality. It is a group of 5 three-dimensional solid shapes, each containing all congruent angles and sides. It is these geometrical figures which manifest as elements in 3D: fire, earth, air, water, and aether. The Transformers movies by Michael Bay contain a great deal of soft disclosure regarding the Metatronic overlay. According to the story, the Allspark is an ancient artifact, a cube capable of creating new Transformer life by bestowing machinery with sparks. It is the source of all life for Transformers. We are the Transformers, transformed from an unrestrained experience into one destined by the linear mechanics of the hypercube of Metatron's cube. In the movies, Megatron is really a personification for Metatron. Megatron is the warlord and leader of the Decepticons, a faction of sentient, self-configuring extraterrestrial robotic lifeforms. This is revealing to us. It is the Metatronic carbon hypercube toroidal chakra kundalini geometric prism overlay that is the reason for this finite existence, for the cycle of birth and death, for time, for decay. In prior videos, we have talked about organic portals. This is what Transformers calls the Decepticons. They are carbon copies of the original living souls who were entrapped here. Basically, there is a finite number of beings here with essence outside of Metatron's cube who have been ensnared in a system full of people who appear on the surface to be real, but are nothing more than Decepticons who pay automatic allegiance to the system in order to cloud the living soul's perceptions of themselves and to keep them restrained to hyperphysicality. We are in the multidimensional hypercube, the Tesseract. A hypercube inhabits several sets of dimensions, an infinite series of cubes repeating within themselves infinitely and extending in all directions. All of these cubes within the hypercube define one single moment in time-space, where time has become a spatial coordinate in all directions. At the center of the hypercube is the merging and converging of the toroidal field. This is the field of magnetics, which is a net. Consciousness is the light that shines through the black hole at the center. This is what creates the magnetic field. This black hole is the generator of the toroidal vortex, the seed encased in the hex. Within this black hole, all the information is stored that is projected holographically into the hypercube, creating existence. Each cube within a cube demonstrates one linear possibility, so we can only experience one out of an infinite trajectory of timelines, one at a time. Because of this, everything seems to have a linear cause and effect, a stable beginning and end. Everything has to move in one way. This is Father Time, the Yahweh supercomputer of consciousness. The Vesica Piscis is the womb of the black hole, the portal through which all energy is toroidally birthed into Metatron's cube. Microcosmically, this is the vagina, the portal through which recycled consciousness within the cube is given another 3D cycle.